There's a lot of nobodies out there, and nobody minds if nobody comes up missing, right? That don't bother nobody.
Something unusual has been unfolding around Cat Williams, and at first glance most people may not fully recognize the deeper pattern being discussed. The conversation does not revolve around a single event, but rather a sequence of moments that, when viewed together, create a narrative about silence, reaction, and control within the entertainment industry. A major turning point in this discussion came after Cat Williams' widely publicized appearance on Club Shay Shay, where he spoke more openly and directly than many entertainers typically do at his level. In that interview, he referenced several major figures in the industry and suggested that success in entertainment is not only shaped by talent, but also by unspoken expectations, relationships, and behind-the-scenes structures that are rarely discussed publicly. According to his perspective, the entertainment business operates through layers of performance and illusion, where public image and private realities do not always align, and where access to opportunity may depend on alignment with certain unspoken rules. His statements implied that careers can be influenced by a small circle of powerful decision-makers, and that advancement often requires navigating invisible standards of behavior that are never officially documented, but widely understood within industry circles. What made the situation more significant was not only what was said, but what followed afterward, as the reaction across media and social platforms was immediate and intense. Old controversies were resurfaced, critics questioned his credibility, and public discourse quickly shifted from the content of his claims to his character as a person. At the same time, there was a noticeable shift in energy after the interview cycle peaked, as Cat Williams gradually stepped back from the spotlight, choosing not to continuously expand on his statements through further interviews or media appearances. That silence became just as noticeable as the original interview itself, and it is within that silence that many observers began drawing comparisons to broader patterns in Hollywood, especially when viewed alongside the way other comedians have historically used their platforms to comment on similar dynamics through different approaches.
No studios have ever said that. Look at my IMDb. It will show you that no studio.
Chris Rock enters this conversation not as a direct respondent, but as a figure whose long career inside the entertainment industry provides a different lens through which similar themes can be interpreted. Over decades, Chris Rock has built a reputation for embedding social commentary within comedy, often discussing subjects such as wealth, race, fame, power, and the structural dynamics of Hollywood without always stating his conclusions in direct or literal terms. Instead, his approach relies on layered delivery, where humor acts as both a shield and a vehicle for deeper meaning, allowing audiences to interpret his material on different levels, depending on how closely they are listening. Some perceive his work as purely comedic, while others identify underlying commentary about how the entertainment system functions, particularly in terms of how influence is distributed and how performers are treated once they enter mainstream visibility. Within this framing, Chris Rock's continued presence in Hollywood becomes important, because unlike some comedians who eventually distance themselves from the industry entirely, he has remained active, adapting to changing conditions while still operating within the system itself. This position gives him both proximity and perspective, allowing him to observe how careers evolve, how narratives are shaped, and how quickly public perception can shift depending on context. When compared with Cat Williams' more direct and unfiltered approach, a contrast emerges between coded commentary and explicit confrontation, where Rock tends to preserve ambiguity, allowing statements to remain interpretable. Williams removes that layer and speaks in a more direct, declarative way. This difference in communication style also reflects different survival strategies within the same environment, where one approach prioritizes longevity through subtlety, and the other prioritizes immediacy through direct exposure. In this way, both voices are often interpreted as describing similar realities from different positions within the same system, one from inside with carefully managed expression, and the other from a more openly confrontational stance that challenges the boundaries of what is typically said publicly.
2022, Will Smith slapped Chris.
When these perspectives are placed alongside broader industry patterns often discussed in entertainment circles, a recurring structure begins to emerge in how success, access, and public narrative are understood. Many interpretations of Hollywood dynamics suggest a sequence in which access is first granted through opportunity, relationships, or entry into influential spaces, followed by an unspoken evaluation phase where alignment with industry expectations becomes important for continued advancement. Within this framework, those who align with expectations may continue to progress, while those who resist or speak too openly may experience shifts in how they are perceived, both professionally and publicly. After this, a narrative phase often follows, where public discourse begins to shape identity through media coverage, commentary, and the resurfacing of past actions or controversies, sometimes reframing individuals in ways that influence how audiences interpret their credibility or intentions. This structure is often discussed in relation to various figures in comedy and entertainment, including individuals like Dave Chappelle, who has spoken in different ways about stepping away from major opportunities at certain points in his career, as well as others in the stand-up world who reference the pressures that come with visibility and industry participation. Within this broader context, moments like the widely publicized Oscars incident involving Chris Rock and Will Smith are frequently referenced as examples of how quickly public narratives can form, evolve, and solidify in real time, especially when high-profile individuals are involved. The event itself became more than an isolated moment, turning into a larger cultural reference point for discussions about accountability, perception, and how institutions respond to controversy. In the aftermath, Chris Rock's return to stand-up added another layer to the interpretation of his perspective, as his material was seen by some as not only addressing the personal experience, but also reflecting on broader ideas about power, protection, and how responses are shaped depending on who is involved. Within all of these overlapping narratives, comedy becomes more than entertainment. It becomes a space where commentary, observation, and coded expression intersect, allowing certain ideas to be communicated without being stated directly. At the same time, the difference between those who speak indirectly and those who speak directly becomes increasingly important, because it influences how messages are received, how individuals are labeled, and how public understanding is ultimately shaped. In the end, what emerges is not a single confirmed explanation, but a pattern of interpretation shaped by silence, reaction, expression, and perception, raising ongoing questions about how truth is communicated, how it is received, and what it costs to speak openly within an industry built as much on narrative as it is on performance.